I'd like to call this regular commission meeting to order for Tuesday, March the 12th, 2013. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off or put it on vibrate. And since tonight Pastor Krietermeyer isn't here, if Commissioner Faulkner would give us the invocation, and please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather tonight to conduct the business of this city. We ask that you guide us in all that we say and all that we do. We ask that those who are present also speak from their hearts and help us in our decision-making process. We look to you for guidance, Father, and as always, we pray in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, let's start off with regular commission meeting minutes from Tuesday, February the 26th, 2013, and the 2013 appropriation ordinance number AO-13-04 in the amount of $691,916.19.
Any questions?
Commissioner Edwards?
If not, then I move to approve the consent agenda items, and I'm going to vote no on the payment to the retail attractions on page 32. I'll approve everything but the payment to retail attractions.
Second.
The motion
Discussion.
was made by Commissioner Jones and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve the consent agenda as presented, except the payment for retail attractions. Mayor George.
Point of order. Discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Do we have an update, Mr. City Manager?
We do. I have finally had the opportunity to meet with Ricky Hayes of Retail Attractions. He came up between the last meeting and this meeting. And I would say that there was a miscommunication between his staff, the city. There were several things that contributed to it. They had sent a couple of the reports to my predecessor, which obviously wouldn't get through. One had gone to an existing staff member that I hadn't heard about, and I had one in my junk email box. So they had sent reports, we hadn't gotten them all. I'd really like to take some more time to follow up on some of the things that he said, some of the people he said he had made contact with that might be potential leads. It doesn't appear that they have done everything we had hoped they would do for us, but I can say that some of the information they provided could be useful to us. And he has also made a proposal that I would like to bring to you at the next meeting that deals with maybe a different arrangement or ending our arrangement.
And in regards to the specifics of the contract, are we contractually obligated to pay him under the existing contract?
Yes, we have to give notice.
I believe that.
Okay, we are contractually obligated to pay, all right? How much notice is required?
60 days.
60 days.
Okay, have we given 60 days notice?
No.
So we do have to pay then? Okay, thank you.
But in my opinion, I don't feel like they've upheld their end of the contract. Even miscommunication, I think they should have made some effort to contact us, come up here, visit with us, something to clear this up.
Thank you.
I guess that would be the issue, is whether there was performance on the other side. My recommendation would be carve out the payment to retail this evening as you have suggested.
Vote on it separately.
And vote on it separately or push it to the next meeting after Gary's subsequent meeting or follow-up with Mr. Hayes.
I would be in favor of pushing it to the next meeting.
And I can, because you haven't paid for another one in the past, we can put all three of them on specifically as an agenda item.
Yes.
I can support that.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
So, well, let's be clear here then. Are you going to rescind the first motion and go ahead and pay the appropriation and then have,
You can amend that motion.
Let's amend it.
okay?
That will approve the appropriations with the exception to the payment to retail attractions, which will come next week in a discussion.
Okay.
All right, and I'll second that as an amended item. So do we need to vote on the amended item first?
We're going to vote on the amendment.
Okay.
There was a motion made by Commissioner Jones and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to add an amendment that the retail attractions payment be listed as an agenda item on the next commission meeting. Therefore, the motion now reads to approve the consent agenda as presented, holding out the payment for retail attractions and listing that on the next commission meeting. Mayor George,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Okay, next item, regular agenda items. Public hearings, special presentations, and proclamations, I see none. The next item will be comments from the public. If you would like to come up and address the commission, please come to the podium, state name and address for us. Anybody like to talk?
Excuse me, I always like to talk. Mary Wilson, from here in Coffeyville. I just learned today that the covering on Walnut down there has really reduced the noise level for the residents that live along there. I think that's great. That's one of the side benefits we got by doing the street the way we did. And I thank you all for doing it.
Anybody else? No? Okay, we'll go on. Go on to old business. Any old business?
I'd just like to ask a couple of questions about the Relay for Life situation. I know there are a number of people here in attendance tonight in anticipation of us reconsidering that. I'm looking at the last meeting's agenda, and I'm looking at the agenda item for that particular issue. And we were approving really a cereal malt beverage for them to use for that one event at the stadium. And I'm reading here, it says their application meets the criteria to issue a license. However, section 4-52 of city ordinance prohibits the consumption of cereal malt beverages upon public streets and parks and in property owned by the state or other governmental subdivision unless exempted. So were we actually doing two different things? Were we exempting them from that ordinance or that statute and approving a cereal malt beverage license?
That was both included in the resolution.
And just to kind of rehash what happened at the last meeting, there was a 2-2 vote with one commissioner absent. And in that particular case, a split vote means it was defeated, is that correct?
Correct.
And so the only way for a motion to reconsider would be for, and we're kind of delving into Robert's Rules of Orders now. That means it failed. Okay. So the only way for us to bring that back up would be,
We've looked at that in anticipation that it might come up again. The motion would need to be made at the same meeting.
So at this point, if you want to reconsider it, technically what you would do, if we follow Robert's Rules of Order, is a motion to rescind that action. A motion to rescind that action requires a 2/3 majority vote.
Of the number of commissioners present at this meeting.
That's right. Yeah, unless it has public notice. So in that event, it would require a majority vote. So someone could make a motion to rescind that action this evening, and it would require all 4 of you to vote in favor of that motion to rescind in order for the matter to be reconsidered.
I thought you said 3/4.
2/3.
2/3.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3 out
Yeah, I'm
of,
sorry, 3 of the 4.
I was gonna
Yes.
say-
Yes. Yes.
I was
that's
about to
right.
have to break the calculator out.
3 of the 4.
So then we could make a motion to rescind it, and then a motion be made
Hi,
to
Virgil.
discuss it.
That's correct.
That was Commissioner Horn.
So let me understand, motion to rescind requires 2/3 of those present,
Yes.
which would
My
have to,
understanding is that 2/3 of those present, not 2/3 of the entire elected body.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Can you call him so he did ask that he be called.
So if he's on the phone, then he counts towards the 2/3. Is that kind of what
He
I'm
does.
getting?
He would count towards the 2/3.
What precedent has been set in the past for us to allow an open session, a commissioner to participate and vote in the meeting from away from the city hall? Because I distinctly remember that it's been discussed once since I've been back on the commission, and the consensus of the group at that point in time, and you may not have been on the commission yet,
No.
was that we were not going to allow that. It came up a number of times when I was on the commission in the early 2000s, and Cindy and Paul, you can back me up on this. Every single time it came up, we decided that while we didn't have a problem with somebody, a commissioner, listening into the meeting, or now they can watch the meeting, and even participating in discussion, we did not feel it was appropriate for them to participate in the vote and count towards the quorum. Am I incorrect in remembering that?
We had those discussions, yes.
Am I correct in remembering that way? Is that correct?
We attempted to have a couple of entire meetings with the commissioner on the phone, and that did not work.
Okay. What version of Robert's Rules of Orders do you have? Do you have edition 11, or do you have an older version?
I don't know what, I looked at it online. I actually don't have a book in my office, and the one that the city manager has is old.
And I likewise looked online, which I would presume would be the most up-to-date version on their website.
I also looked online. Look, here's the bottom line, and I understand there are people that are very passionate on both sides of this issue about whether they feel it's appropriate for there to be alcohol at this event or whether they feel it's not. My overriding concern is that we have 5 commissioners, and 3 of the 5 of us, which is a majority, feel like this is an okay thing. And now I'm starting to get the impression that we're using Robert's Rules of Orders as the fiery hoops through which we're supposed to jump through, when we all know that we often don't follow Robert's Rules of Orders to the T. And I kind of sort of feel like the minority is trying to impose their beliefs on the majority, and I've kind of got a problem with that.
I think we're just, from staff standpoint, we're trying to get this correct.
And make sure that.
And I
the I's are
respect
dotted
that.
and the T's are crossed.
Right.
I didn't have any single commissioner ask me to look into Robert's Rules of Order and what it says.
Yeah.
I simply wanted to make sure that if the board takes an action, they're taking one that can be upheld.
Hey, Chris, here's his number, if you'd call him. Is this all right if we just call him?
I have no problem listening to him, but I think that
I
if we-
think my
if we get to
position
the-
on that is, and I would support Commissioner Edwards, that what we have is 4 commissioners present at the announced meeting. And at the previous meeting, the question then arises, and it's a what if. What if our mayor had been on the phone? Would he have been allowed to vote? And would his vote have counted during that discussion? So the same argument applies. I know it's a retrospective approach, a look, but if Commissioner Horn if he's attempting to cast a vote, then he should walk through the door and sit in the chair.
I don't know whether he's wanting to cast a vote or not. I know that in the past, we have allowed commissioners to participate in the meeting by phone. I remember one particular instance where we would not have had a quorum unless we allowed a commissioner to participate by phone. I don't recall whether that commissioner voted or how long that commissioner stuck around, but I know he or she was present when the meeting was called to order, so we would have a quorum in order to conduct business. I don't know. It's a situation where we don't really we have not adopted Robert's rules as our governing parliamentary procedure manual. I did look in a couple of books that are published by the league that talk about going to the Robert's Rules of Orders for guidance if there's not something in our ordinances that would otherwise dictate the way a matter should be handled. You know, this is the first time I've encountered. We've had one other situation where we've had the reconsideration. We handled that at the same meeting. This is the first time that I ever remember encountering a situation where a motion didn't pass and we're wanting to revisit it now at a subsequent meeting. So, as best we can tell, it would require a motion to rescind.
So, not being bound by Robert's Rules of Order
Right?
officially,
Correct.
that would mean that even if Commissioner Horn comes on the line and votes on this specific issue, Robert's Rules of Order would not apply, and it would just require a typical majority vote.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, let me read a couple of quotes from the handbook that I shared with Gary and Cindy earlier today. There is no state law which requires that certain rules of order or parliamentary procedure must be followed in conducting meetings of a commission. Some commissions have written rules of order established by ordinance, and some have unwritten customs or practices. Local rules and customs will dictate the propriety of various types of motions at different points of a meeting. The governing body should refer to Robert's Rules of Order for all points not covered here. So you're sort of in I guess in my opinion, a gray area, unless you choose to just simply default, go to the Robert's Rules of Order. And then I think there is some guidance on the issue. We don't really have a local custom or practice, though, that we've observed when encountering this kind of an issue. I can't even give you, past practice, what we've done in the past as far as dealing with this kind of an issue.
I feel pretty confident in saying that if you haven't, Mayor George was the commissioner who was not here last time, and he knew that we've in the past not allowed people to vote over the phone or, Skype now. And I feel pretty confident, correct me if I'm wrong, in saying that if you had known that this issue was going to turn out like this, you would have taken 5 or 10 minutes away from your family and seeing your son that night, and you would have called your yes vote in, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. So I feel like really the important thing is that the majority of the commission be heard on this issue, and I'd like to make a motion to rescind the action from the previous meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to rescind the action on
Things just get more and more complicated.
the Windsor Place cereal malt beverage license. Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Mayor George?
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
No.
Commissioner Horn?
No.
Did you run?
They can do it again.
Are you okay?
The next meeting. I don't see where you're limited on the number of times I can bring a motion to rescind.
So now what?
Motion to reconsider.
By Robert's rules, that motion failed because you have to have 4 of the 5 voting in favor of the motion to rescind.
However, there's, as was indicated earlier, if it's public and someone says, I intend to have a motion to rescind at the next meeting, it needs a simple majority. It's simply a matter
A public notice.
of public notice.
Okay. Then I would like to make that motion that we rescind it at the next meeting.
It's not a motion, it's just,
It's just
Motion to put it on the
notification.
agenda.
Okay.
Giving notice, it will be on the agenda.
And you want that's in the form of a motion? Does that need to be in?
We've not required motions in the past to put things on the agenda.
Hey, Pam, hand me my card back with his number on it, over there by the phone.
This issue has brought to light of another issue that I think, given technology, that we do need to address. Okay. We live in a world of telecommunications and Skype, and I think that now that we have a new city manager, that I would welcome knowing how other cities and other governmental entities are handling, allowing elected officials to dial in, so to speak, to proceedings, and if they're allowing them to participate and vote or just comment. And if that's something that the trend seems to be going to, allowing those things to happen, then that's something that we need to probably put in writing, and that way we can move with the times and still justify having departed from precedent. I know all 5 of us are very busy people, and although I've never in 5.5, 6 years missed a commission meeting, there's a couple of times I wished I had. I know it's not uncommon for us to be missing one or sometimes 2 people, and that might sometimes be a way for us to have quorum.
would you also like staff to prepare something so that you can formally adopt Robert's Rules of Order so that we don't have the same questions in the future regarding how we should operate?
Yes.
Is there a parliamentarian in the group that can adequately address those issues when they come up?
I think it would be whoever doesn't show up at a meeting. You just make a motion and name them that. As a joke.
Ordinarily, it would probably fall on the shoulders of the attorney, wouldn't it, the city attorney?
I'm not a parliamentarian, but we will muddle through, yes. Kind of muddle through.
Excuse me for my tardiness. Duty called and I was at parent-teachers conference. But I was watching what was going on because I am very much interested in everything that we do. I'd like to have a copy of the agenda if one's available.
Can we take about a 3-minute break and I'll go copy one for you? 'Cause
Yes.
I'm
Oh.
still looking at it.
Might give you a little more time to recover from the race up the stairs.
Need something to drink?
I'll reconvene the meeting.
I'd like to make a comment on this item. It was brought to my attention, someone wanted to know why Mrs. Jones voted the way she did. I just said no. I think we can have fun and do fundraisers without alcohol involved. I think sometimes alcohol leads to situations that are out of our control. I had a 14-year-old cousin killed by a drunk driver that had just come back from a fundraiser. And I'm going to take a stand on this, that I'm going to vote no on it. I think we can have fun and do what we need to do without alcohol being involved. So that's my stand, and sticking to it.
Okay. Anybody else on this issue? We'll move on then to new business. Resolution number R-13-20, a resolution to authorize downtown Coffeyville to use the downtown plaza and to approve the consumption of alcohol during a special event. Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, we did receive a request from downtown Coffeyville. They're planning a fundraising event, Night Under the Stars, on June the 8th. They are requesting the use of the downtown plaza to hold the event. They're planning to have an auction, music, food, wine, and beer, and they'll be requesting a permit to sell alcoholic beverages on the plaza. They wouldn't get the license from the city, that would have to come from the state. But since the ordinance that Commissioner Edwards referred to does prohibit the sale of alcoholic beverages on public property, we would need to approve an exemption for them to hold that event on the plaza. Members of downtown Coffeyville are here, and Sarah Key will be speaking on behalf of the organization.
Hi. Like Cindy said, we want to have the event downtown. We would like to offer wine and beer to the event. It does help raise extra funds. That is just to make downtown Coffeyville much stronger, to preserve the history that we have. I just want to kind of go over some of the key points that we're going to have. We're going to have heavy hors d'oeuvres, and those will be complimentary for the night with their ticket when they enter. There will be some form of music. We're still determining whether that will be live. We will be having a live auction. And then if approved, of course, the beer and wine. We'll also have iced tea, lemonade, things like that to drink. It will be in a controlled area. The food and beverages will be served in a certain area. There will be one entry in and one exit out at the same location. There will be identifiers, because again, we're outside, so we have to determine the people who have paid to come in. We are going to purchase necklaces. Everyone will have to keep those on the entire event so that we know that they're just not coming off the street, and we know they're of age also. We have talked to the chief of police, and he has okayed 1 to 2 police officers will be there to help us control the event. And then again, we have the application to the state to get that day liquor license. You have questions for me?
Elaborate on complimentary.
Complimentary for the food?
You said, will the beer and wine be complimentary with the ticket?
They'll get one with the ticket. They're going to get one drink if they would so choose to have that. We'll give them a ticket when they come in for that drink. Then after that, they would have to purchase the beer or wine.
Okay.
And-
If they choose not to have beer or wine, is there some other drink available?
Yes.
Soft drink,
There'll
water,
be iced
bottled
tea,
water, iced tea,
lemonade, and bottled water.
If they choose not to?
That is
All right.
correct. Yes.
With all the establishments that sell alcoholic beverages, why would this group want to sponsor anything that has to do with alcohol in response to community solidarity?
It just seems to bring, I don't know, brings extra money, we feel a little. It does, because we're going to have the live auction. It's just something that kind of goes hand in hand, it seems like, with events. If you look at the histories of fundraisers, even your chamber annual dinner has alcoholic beverages that you can purchase.
So why wouldn't you make it a private thing in a private establishment rather than?
We would like to showcase downtown Coffeyville. We'd like to have it on the plaza. We plan on decorating with lights in the trees, hopefully to make it a very elegant evening. It's going to be a dressy event, so it's not going to be, it's going to be different than Fair and Rodeo, you know, the boots and jeans or something like that. We want to make something a little different, want to showcase the downtown. Hopefully it won't be too windy where we'll have the fountain on, have the lights. The hopes of the music is going to be some form of a jazz or blues, just something different for downtown Coffeyville to bring people down to see the progress we've made in downtown Coffeyville thus far.
And we have done a lot of them privately, so that's where we're at now, but we'd like to, like you said, showcase that off.
You answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry. Oh, and then I did want to add, we have a limo service that has offered to donate their time. So if we do feel that a police officer or us that is helping with the event feel someone maybe has gotten over consumed on the alcohol, they will provide free a ride home. And I think they'll be there from 7 to 10. Event starts at 6, and the limo service will be there from 7 to 10 till we shut the event down.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number R-13-20 for adoption.
Second the motion.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve resolution number R-13-20 for adoption. Mayor George.
Aye, and I need to preface the aye. I don't believe, excuse me, I have a hard time saying yes to one group, no to somebody else. And since the Fair and Rodeo has done this for years and years and years, I feel it's very inappropriate for me to say no to them. In fact, I think at some point it might get us in a lawsuit because we're picking who we want to be able to do this. So I'm going to say yes.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Horn.
No.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Yes. And for the same reason that Mayor quoted, I think it would be inappropriate to, I believe the expression is cherry pick and decide who can and who cannot. And we might open ourselves up to some legal issues in the future. Thank you.
I understand that. And so what I'm doing is, I've always abstained. And the reason I abstained is because businesses, pubs, places that sell booze, alcohol, beverages, what have you, have the right to do that. And I didn't ever want to get in the way of businesses. But there's something stronger within now. And now that our community is leaning into socializations of something that really is destructive in many families, especially here in Coffeyville. With a good conscience, I can't say yes. I have children who have alcohol syndromes. I have parents who are strung out on many things, and alcohol is one. And so it saddens me to see health fairs. It saddens me to see our wonderful workers in the city wanting to incorporate alcohol beverages and people have the right to choose what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And at this particular case, I just feel it necessary never to abstain, to let my yes be yes and my no's be no's. And so that's, I wish the committee all the success that it can receive, but when it comes to alcohol, I'm going to have to say no.
Can I
I
change
just
my
needed to
vote?
share that.
Is it too late to change my vote? Okay. I'm in agreement with Virgil. People that, pubs, et cetera, places that sell alcohol, so be it. Fundraisers, family affairs where alcohol is served. I grew up in a family with a dad that drank and it wasn't pretty. And I don't wish that life on any child. It wasn't a good life. Just a little bit would set him off, and it was horrible. I may as well just say it, that's how I feel. And I will never approve an alcohol beverage being served at a fundraiser.
When we discussed it with you earlier, why was it that you said you didn't have a problem with it?
Coming
now
up
you-
here, no,
and now
coming
you-
up here to present this, I said, no, I don't have a problem with you presenting it. You've got a right to present anything. No, I didn't have a problem with that. But I can't approve alcoholic beverages outside. I mean, if you're in a pub, bar, they buy it at whatever.
But you have voted for it in the past
I have, but
a
I'm not
number
going
of
to.
times for the Fair and Rodeo.
I know,
So
and I'm changing.
going forward, you won't vote for that either.
No,
Are we good?
not after seeing what my cousin went through with her child, having to pull the life support plug on him. No.
Cindy, can you go ahead and sign this for us?
Yes.
Thank you for your time very much.
I have to stay for that, so I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3, Resolution R-13-21, a resolution to approve excuse me. Discussion and action to approve a cereal malt beverage for Jumpstart. I skipped
Mayor and Commissioners, Phillips Jumpstart at 512 Northeast has reopened, and they are applying for a cereal malt beverage. The fire department and the health department have both done their inspections, and they have passed those. The police department has done the background check, and that has passed. So according to state statutes, they meet all of the rules and regulations in order to give them a cereal malt beverage license.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion, anybody?
Move to approve a cereal malt beverage license for Phillips Jumpstart at 512 Northeast Street.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve a cereal malt beverage license for the Phillips Jumpstart at 512 Northeast Street. Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
No?
Commissioner Horn.
No.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Item number 3, resolution number R-13-21, a resolution to approve an engineering agreement with Algier Martin and Associates for the KDOT K-Link project on Highway 166-169. Engineering Superintendent Scott Massman will make comments and address questions.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. My discussion this evening will not have anything to do with alcohol.
Although people
Thank
are
you.
killed on these highways,
That's true.
we might ought to
So
close them all down.
Previously, Algar Martin worked on the area that is going to be subject to the Clink project for this next go-round, and that namely is between Walnut and 8th Street. We're going to lay down a Nova Chip surface, which was mentioned earlier this evening as well. That Nova Chip will protect the concrete that's got pitting. The recommendation of the selection committee by percent basis was overwhelmingly in favor of Algar Martin and Associates. They've been selected because of past experience in the project scope and also their excellent credentials. The amount not to exceed for the contract is $22,819. I don't expect that to be, it may be half that because I already have the spec for the Nova Chip. They do have to count panels, which is another part of the job. We're going to do rehab work from Walnut to, we hope, Spruce Street.
I got a question for you, Scott. If we're doing just an overlay, why do we have to have engineers and pay them this kind of money?
For the spec, how it's done.
Okay?
And then we also visually inspect that as that's being laid down, make sure that it's being laid down in accordance with.
The engineer does?
We have construction engineers that do that for us, yes.
But you two are also on the job.
We
checking.
are.
When would this work begin?
We are hoping this spring. Right at Fair and Rodeo time.
Uh-oh.
Congestion.
Has
We'll
this
try
already
to
been-
avoid that.
Has this already been approved by KDOT?
Yes.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, move to approve resolution number R-1321 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Horn and seconded by Commissioner Jones to approve resolution number R-13-21 for adoption. Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner,
Aye.
Commissioner Horn,
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye. We all agreed on something. Meeting's getting better already. We'll go on to item number 4. Resolution R-13-22, a resolution to execute a purchase order with Shawnee Mission Ford for the purchase of 2 vehicles for the police department. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. The Police Department is requesting appropriation to purchase 2 new police patrol vehicles. These vehicles will be used for DUI enforcement. If you remember, during our budget session, we did discuss our rotation plan, and currently the Police Department for several years has had a rotation plan for our frontline vehicles. So these are our marked patrol units that are run pretty much 24/7 and occur a lot of miles. So we have budgeted for this. What I will point out is that the recommendation that we're asking for does exceed what we've budgeted by about $2,600. And speaking with finance, that funding is available for that cost. And in looking at bids, we did receive bids on Dodge Chargers, on Ford sedans, and on Ford SUV Interceptors. Staff did research on all of these vehicles and ultimately requested the purchase of the Ford SUV Interceptors. For the price difference, the availability to have all-wheel drive vehicles and the cargo space that those vehicles had over our current Dodge Chargers, we felt was well worth the value of the cost difference, which was about $2,100 a vehicle. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Some of this money come from the forfeiture fund? Is that correct?
In these vehicles, they do not. Our K-9 vehicle was entirely paid for with forfeiture money.
Okay, so then one of these is not a K-9 unit?
That's correct. These would be exclusively for our patrol fleet.
Okay.
And what we do is we rotate then down. We'll take our older patrol fleet vehicles. They'll be moved down to detective or admin vehicles, and those vehicles will then be turned back over for either trade-in value or sold. So that value also will make up the difference on these costs.
I have a question for you, Chief.
Sure.
How do these vehicles, or I don't know if it was a consideration or if you may even be aware, but is there any way to evaluate the cornering ability of these vehicles during a high-speed chase as opposed to a automobile which is going to have a lower center of gravity?
These vehicles were specifically designed for law enforcement. It's kind of Ford's response to ending the Crown Vic, which was unfortunate that they did discontinue that vehicle. And a number of agencies have gone to this particular SUV with good results.
Will these SUVs be used also in carrying the scales in the future for trucks who are overloaded in areas that they really shouldn't be in?
We have 2 officers that are interested in that, and I'm very interested in obtaining that certification. And so that would definitely be a possibility. There is a law or a bill right now in the state legislature that might deny us from being able to do that, so I hope that does not pass. But assuming that does not pass, then that's our intention, is to get some DOT certified officers, because we do have such a high traffic of commercial vehicles through our city.
Just a question, have we ever thought about motorcycles having one or two in our department?
We used to.
I've not really considered that.
Just a question.
There is a lot of training and involved in that, and primarily motorcycles and law enforcement are used generally just for traffic enforcement. So there is an increased risk there to officer safety.
Okay.
So I would shy away from that, but
I
it'd
understand.
definitely be something I would always consider.
Commander George's father used to do that, Glenn Welch. Used to be a motorcycle. He used to tease him about his big, long black boots.
We've got some black and white pictures that are pretty entertaining. So.
I noticed a lot of cities that accommodate funeral processions and what have you. That's part of the traffic piece, and they do traffic. And
We do, and we do still provide funeral escorts here in
I know.
Coffeyville. Yeah.
Just a question.
Move to approve resolution number R-13-22 for adoption.
So move.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Horn to approve resolution number R-13-22 for adoption. Mayor George.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
So tonight, we're going all in the same order.
No.
I've been first on almost every one of them now. We gotta have some laughter up here. We've been too serious tonight. Okay, resolution number R-13-23. A resolution to execute a purchase order with G&G Dozer for the demolition and disposal of 5 structures. Police Chief James Grimmett. Fire Chief James Grimmett will make comments.
Police Chief. Mayor and Commissioners, on March the 5th, we received 3 bids to demolish 5 structures, and we recommend G&G Dozer. They have a very good reputation. We consider them to be reliable. They have performed numerous demolitions for the city, and we consider them to be very professional.
I've got a question. We haven't torn down any since the first of the year, since we started this budget season?
Correct.
Okay, this will be the first group. Do you already have a list made up of even more than this?
Yes.
How many, just roughly?
About the 107, I'm gonna guess. That's closer to the process of actually being torn down, probably,
That have been condemned.
98.
I thought it was close to 100.
excuse me?
Is it around 100?
That's about 107 that we have in process, but being closer to actually getting them to court and getting all of the title searches and back, probably closer to 38 to 40.
Okay.
And how much money did we budget? How many of those houses are we going to be able to liquidate off of that list this year?
We budget 150,000.
Right.
Okay.
And we figure that we average how much per demolition, per structure? Like $3,000?
Probably somewhere in that neighborhood. It just depends.
Yeah, if I remember right, Don, part of it depends on whether or not it had asbestos in it, or some kind of hazardous material, and it costs us a little bit more to have it disposed of.
Or if we tear down more than one in the same block in the same year, within 12 months.
I just think it's too bad. I mean, we're condemning these structures quicker than we've budgeted money to tear them down, and I know this is kind of rehashing the discussions that we had during budget session last year, but I was the only commissioner that wanted to actually budget enough money to liquidate that list from year to year, because it seems like all we're doing now is we're tearing down this many, but this many more come along behind those, and this is why we're never catching up on our blight situation. And this isn't anything, you weren't even here at that point in time, you've just come along recently, and this isn't your fault. What I'm saying is, we are never gonna catch up on the blight situation in Coffeyville until we pony up and actually budget enough money to tear down the structures that we've condemned. So I'm hoping that whoever's on the commission this summer, when they start working on the 2014 budget, will look at that situation and give you the budget that you need to eliminate these houses, and maybe then we'll start seeing a difference in the community. It's not your fault, it's our fault.
Any other questions?
Move to approve resolution number R-13-23 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Jones to approve resolution number R-13-23 for adoption. Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Yep.
Thank you.
Question. Did the city tear down the building across the street from ELC Early Learning Center on Second Street? Did the city do that? Did we do that?
We had a case on it. It was going to be done a little bit later, but I continued to get calls. So we contacted Coffeyville Resources, who had actually purchased that home, and they put it further up on the list and were able to take it down.
Thank you.
Right.
Because now it's not appealing to kids who are getting off the bus and want to run over that way and play and possibly have got hurt. So thank you, and thank Resource for moving that up. That really helped that neighborhood.
Right.
We did tear down 2 houses in the single-digit block there, though, last year, correct? I think 6 and 10 East Second.
I was in here last year.
I'm not sure.
We did, because the people who lived in between those 2 structures, their property, their valuation almost doubled after those structures
I
were
know
torn
one
down.
was torn. Yeah.
And also just working in the neighborhood to clean up. Also, I've hoped you've noticed a difference so that the kids don't have to be exposed to the junk in the yards also.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, if we can just fix the street.
Everything in its place.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion while they're standing there? Can we skip to number 7?
Okay. Is that all right with everybody else?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, we'll skip to number 7, ordinance number G-13-01, the first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 for the weed nuisance.
Mayor and Commissioners, I need to revise my staff report where I said March the 1st to May 15th is actually March 27th. So what we talk about here is the efficient use of resources. During that period, we had 424 cases of weed lots that were out of compliance. And during that time, we found that 240 of those, after the 10-day reinspection, have complied. So what I mean by efficient use of resources is that if we raise the height limit from 8 to 12, that we don't go out and cite those people that are going to mow. And this data is indication that this is what has taken place. So, and this would also allow us to spend more time on other things like blights and nuisances.
You say here the League of Kansas Municipalities also uses the 12-inch height.
Yes, in their sample ordinance, that's what they do.
Would it be harder to mow if, I know 8 inches it's hard to mow, but
Well, 8 inches is the cutoff, but by the time we send a letter out, and then we give them 10 days to mow, and then we go back and re-inspect, it's well past 8.
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Move to approve resolution number R-13-24 for adoption.
So move.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
I didn't skip there. Move to approve ordinance number G-13-01 for first reading.
So move.
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Horn to approve ordinance number G-13-01 for first reading. Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go back to item 6, resolution number R-13-24, a resolution to purchase health insurance coverage. Finance Director Stephanie Richardson will make comments and address questions.
Mayor and Commissioners, staff recently received our renewal proposals from Blue Cross Blue Shield for the city's health insurance plan. Our health insurance committee did get together and reviewed the renewals. Did request some additional information from Blue Cross to get some different options as far as our expected claim amount, since we are a partially self-funded plan. I will note that our plan also includes the Coffeyville Library employees. They pay 100% of their premiums, but by joining our group, it gives them a little bit lower premium than what they would get out on their own. We did review each option, and the committee is recommending that we remain with our current plan design. That is a 4.9% increase in our maximum health care cost exposure. While that's not the option that showed the lowest increase, it does limit our plan's fixed costs, and those are costs that we know we're going to have to pay. Everything else is dependent upon what our claims are. And the committee didn't really feel that we're going to hit the numbers that Blue Cross is expecting that we will. We haven't in the past. And so therefore we felt this option was better to limit our fixed costs, knowing that we'll have less fixed costs that we have to pay up front. We will maintain the city's portion of the plan at $9,000 per budgeted employee, as it states in our employee contract or our employee manual. And we do not expect any increased premiums for the employees. We plan to continue to monitor that throughout the year, and also look at other plan designs that are out there, kind of educate ourselves on what else is out there with all the mandates that are coming down. We feel it's time that we start looking to see if there are other things out there that might fit our plan as well. So at this time, we do recommend adoption of this resolution. That includes a $50,000 individual stop loss and a 125% aggregate stop loss limit. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
So there'd be no increase in premiums for the employees, is that correct?
At this time, right.
Okay.
And we inform them at
no
OPM.
increase for the city.
Right.
Has there been a decrease in their benefits?
No.
Has there been an
Benefits are
increase?
remaining the same from the
Has there been an
previous
increase in their deductibles?
It's, the
So they're
plan
gonna,
remains the same as what it
everything's
was this
exactly the
past year.
same? Okay.
What was that 4-point increase?
Yeah, and how can we have an increase and nobody's paying the difference?
We have reserves built up. That's part of the benefit of being a self-funded plan, that we fund our plan to the maximum limit, and then if our claims don't come in as what they expect they're gonna be, then we have that sitting in reserves to use. And that's kind of what we've been doing. When we've seen increases in the plan, we've not had to increase on the employee or the city side, because we've got those reserves sitting there that we can use against those. Some years we have good years with claims, and other years we'll hit a year that we have high claims, but
Is our plan considered a Cadillac plan by the Obama administration? Is this something we're going to have to deal with in the future? I've heard of other units of government having this problem.
That's a good question, and our HR person is not here to answer that. She went to some Obamacare, I think there's probably a better name for it, the Affordable Health Care Act. She went to some training that was sponsored by MAC. Was that last month? Mm-hmm. And I think she'd have a better answer for that. But right now, there's a lack of clarity from a lot of people of just what's down the road for people.
and that's part of what I think our committee's gonna be charged with this next year, is trying to educate ourselves and the rest of the employees on what is coming down the line, what we're gonna have to adhere to. There are things with wellness plans and things like that we're gonna be required to implement, so.
Well, I would hope we'd never become an employer that dumps its employees, that pays a $2,000 penalty per employee and lets them fend for themselves.
Right.
I'm hearing local industries and companies are doing that, and while I can't fault them for looking out for their bottom lines and trying to make sure that they're staying solvent, I hope that we never do that to our employees.
Oh, yeah. You know, what I had heard, and this was just talking to somebody else in another government agency, is that the Cadillac plan, what we would end up having to do is change what we give our employees to bring the level of service down to them, or we would be, as a city, we would have to pay more, pay some kind of a penalty, from what I understood.
Yeah, and we may be forced to charge the employees more to have them pay a higher percentage of their premiums.
Okay.
I would hope that if we made them pay a higher percentage of the premiums, if you wanted to offset it with pay increases on the other side, that's certainly a consideration that future commission could take.
Well, can we get an update from our HR person to find out what she's learned?
Yes, I can have her come to the next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else on this issue? Motion?
I move to approve resolution number R-13-24 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Jones and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve resolution number R-13-24 for adoption. Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
When I was listening on the computer, Channel 13, I could hear the commissioners quite well, and even individuals that were there, but when it comes to staff, sometimes it was vague in my hearing. So just for a point of reference, when you talk, so the audience could hear, because I was trying to, I heard what you said, but if I was harder hearing more than what I am, I wouldn't have heard you.
Okay. Let's move on to discussion on the gun range policy. Fire Chief, I won't excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. If you remember at the last meeting, I did bring up some issues with the gun range, and I left that meeting with the understanding that I would research this further and come back to the Commission with the resolution. I have researched it further. I've not brought you a resolution. However, what I've proposed in my staff report is that the Commission allow the Police Department to continue to set the policy at this time for the range. In that staff report, I did submit a draft policy that I would implement for the range. I have not heard any opposition to allowing concealed carry classes at the range, and I don't have an opposition to it either, just provided that we do it in a safe, responsible manner. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I believe some of the gentlemen that do hold concealed carry classes are here tonight also if you have any questions.
The only, and I expressed them to the chief when I saw him, the only two things that I thought that maybe we ought to touch on is it gives the chief complete control over who does it and who doesn't. And I only thought that it ought to be in there that it cannot be unreasonably withheld from his standpoint. And then the other thing I noticed was there is talk in there if the police department needs to use that or field immediately and wants to have other people leave. I thought it ought to say that the chief had to say that, and not an officer just walking out there who might want to use the field or something else and say, you all have to leave because I'm the police department. It needs to be the chief or maybe the commander who gives those orders to who's ever going to use the field that day.
And that is the intent, and I certainly will adjust that policy. And a lot of that's taken from the contract that we have with the gun club, which it's probably time to update that contract as well. So we'll look at that, the current contract. If I believe I sent a copy with the packet, but it still refers to the old gun range at a different location. So it's in need of some update as well, and we'll take a look at that.
Just a question. That the gun range is city-owned?
It is.
Have we ever thought about placing a wall between the, right there where the fence is for seclusion?
I don't, since I've been here, I don't know that that's necessarily been discussed. I know the gun club has asked to extend some of the berm, and in talking with city staff, it's going to be a pretty involved project involving some funds. It's not just as easy as dumping a pile of dirt. It's a mountain of dirt, and it's a lot of work, more than, I mean, it's going to take dozer, more than just a back end loader or something like that. So I don't know the cost. I mean, I can certainly research that a little bit, but I think there would be a significant cost into extending a berm or a wall. It's a good range. We're very fortunate to have it.
I agree.
I wish if it was in a different location, I would be in favor of having it an open public range. Unfortunately, right off the highway like that, I would have big reservations about making it an open range.
Well, that's why I was thinking about a wall there, a retainer wall or something there, just in case an accident, discharge or something, and it wouldn't go towards the, if it did go towards the highway, then there would be something to stop it.
Sure. Well, I'll certainly look into that as much as I can, and if there's a feasible plan or another arrangement with, I believe maybe it was the National Guard that originally helped us with the initial building of the range, so there might be some opportunities there for that.
Did you guys have anything to add, Kelly?
I would like to speak, you guys don't mind?
Sure. Name and address, please.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name's Kelly Stewart. It's my partner, Richard George. We're both from Coffeyville. We are both firearms instructors for the Sheriff's Office. Some of you who've known me for a few years, I worked for the City Police Department for about 11 years. Was a firearms instructor there too. In response to your question, Mr. Mayor, when we built that range, we actually planted a wall of
Cedar
evergreen trees, and we had a year about like we had last year, and they died. So they lasted about a season. You have in front of you, we supplied you with some information. Basically, the purpose of us coming here tonight is to ask your permission to use that range. We began teaching concealed carry classes to the public about a year ago. And it was probably an oversight on our part. We never, until this became an issue, never thought to come and ask. So that's the purpose of our visit. We supplied you with some information. One thing I would like to reiterate to you guys, we have $2 million worth of liability insurance coverage. We've also named the city and its range as an insured entity in that. So if you guys have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Have you guys seen this draft document?
I have, yes.
Yes, I have as
Okay.
well.
Do you have any problems with it?
No offense to the chief. The only wording in there that I thought we might want to visit is the instructor to student ratio. The courses and the training that we've been to recommended an instructor to student ratio on the firing line of no more than 1 to 5. One instructor for every 5 students on the firing line. And I don't know if you intended that to be classroom ratio or firing line ratio, but that would be our only concern, and that's just a safety issue, so you don't have too many people to keep track of up there at one time.
Okay.
Other than that, I thought the wording was
Is that
just
something
fine.
that you and they can discuss before you bring something to us to vote on? Okay.
And I guess that's what I'll ask tonight, clarification, if you actually want a resolution to vote on, or if you want to leave it to me and the police department to administer.
Administration would be fine with me.
I don't have a preference.
I'll be happy to do either
Yeah,
way,
let's
whatever.
let's just let them him administer it and make it rules of the range. I don't see any reason for an ordinance or anything else.
Okay.
You all would approve the lease agreement, but as far as the policy is concerned, that could certainly be administered.
Okay, yeah, let's leave the policy to you, and if you can work with them to make everybody happy, because I definitely believe in concealed carry courses, and we need them. Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, comments from commissioners and staff.
I would just like to announce, I'm sure you've heard, but Commander Diane George is retiring. She is having, we're having her retirement celebration this Friday from 2 to 4 here in the commission chambers, and certainly all the commissioners are invited and welcome to attend and come thank Diane for her long service to our community.
Where will that be again?
It'll be this Friday.
2 to 4?
2 to 4, and stop by anytime and congratulate her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor and Commissioners, I wanted to let you know that the residential surveys have started to be received in some of the homes. People are getting phone calls to let them know that those are there. There, according to some confusion regarding the phone calls, but hopefully when people get the survey in the mail, they take the time to fill that out and return it to us. That's a very important piece of information for us so that we can prioritize and make sure that we're providing the highest level of service that we can. I also wanted to let you know that the Economic Development and Community Development Task Forces have begun their meetings. Each of them has met one time. They're meeting every other Thursday, alternating. One task force will meet one Thursday, the other task force will meet the next Thursday. We expect it to take about 3 months to complete those plans, one for economic development, one for community development. And so far, we've had a really good response from the participants in those sessions. I also wanted to let you know that I have provided 2 presentations regarding the upcoming sales tax, the proposal that is on the ballot for the April 2nd election. Presented yesterday to the Kiwanis and today to Rotary. I also have an additional presentation scheduled for other service organizations. And that has been well received, the information that I've provided in those. And regarding sales tax, I wanted to let you know where we're at with the architects. We had our kickoff meeting last week. They came out and we had a really good meeting. They've taken tours of all of the buildings and done assessments on those. They're putting together that information to help with the programming as well, to verify the space needs that we had for each of the departments. They were back in town today to look also at the Youth Activity Center and Library and Perkins Building, and that's going very well, and we expect that, again, to take about 3 more months until that's wrapped up. And staff had no other comments.
In 3 months, they're going to have plans for us, or?
In 3 months, they will be at the phase of schematic drawings, and they will be able to make a recommendation to you regarding what approach to take with funding and how we should phase the improvements, and also whether or not they think in this particular building it'll be possible for us to work while the renovations are going on, or whether or not they would recommend that we relocate.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got any comments?
I have a comment. This is more of a way of a plea for the citizens of Caulfield to call Topeka, call our state senator and Representative King and Kelly. Thank you. There is a bill, Senate Bill 211, that's going through the Senate and the House that would move city elections from the spring to the fall and roll them into the general election and make it a partisan election. I personally am strongly opposed to this, and I would hope everyone else would be too, for 2 reasons. First of all, I feel that our city elections and the issues that we are dealing with here in Coffeyville would get lost in the noise of a national election in terms of a general election. Just wouldn't get the visibility that we need locally. We would lose a degree of local control there. And then from a partisan standpoint, we don't need partisan politics at the city level. I mean, it's difficult enough as it is. We need representation as the citizens of Caulfield and the electorate feel is necessary based on the people that are running, not based on a political party. And that's my 2 cents worth.
That's good 2 cents. That's a good 2 cents. I concur.
Anybody else? I would just like to reiterate what the city manager said to everybody on television, is please return these surveys. They are very, very important for the future of Coffeyville, and it will definitely help the commissions in the future be able to plan what we need in our community, and we need your input. So please fill them out, please send them back. It will definitely help us in the future. Anything else? We have a executive session. And let's take a 12-minute break. We'll come back here at 8 o'clock, and then we will convene we'll convene and come back at 8:20. Is that fair?
Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor George and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to adjourn to executive session for discussion of non-elected personnel to reconvene on or before 8:20, and that will include a 12-minute break. All in favor?
Aye.